Wait a minute. Are you a random speaker of the English language, a writer, an editor, a teacher, or a student? Come closer. Let me explain to you one important aspect of the English language that you need to master and reach your English mastery journey. Today, I want to teach you about the concept of would rather conquer. Would rather conquer. But before I get to the class, let me share with you this personal story so you can understand why it's important to take this class, this concept really serious. You see, back in 2016, 2017, when I first got exposed to using Grammarly to a debug project, I noticed at the time that there were just certain expressions that Grammarly would normally flag off as incorrect, as needing revisions. Mind you, these were expressions that I knew to be correct. Because make it make sense, why do I have to start changing? Why do I have to start deviating from the normal grammar rules to suit the patterns of Grammarly? Why do I have to start convincing myself that the thing that I know to be grammatically correct are no longer correct simply because Grammarly is saying that? I felt that was the highest form of gaslighting I ever saw. So I decided to rebel against grammar at the time, in that I thought of writing a book titled Grammarly Needed to be Grammarly. However, I didn't take that route anyways. And the reason was simple. I didn't have access to the paid version of Grammarly. So that seemed like a perfect excuse. But I began to notice the same pattern when ChatGPT came. When I started using ChatGPT earlier on, I noticed also that there were also certain expressions that that ChatGPT would say needed revisions, were not grammatically correct enough. And I felt, man, who were the people in charge of the codification or the configuration of these applications or the software? So I thought that the right thing to do as a teacher, a student, a writer, an editor would be that I manually master all of the rudiments of grammar so that I don't have to depend or wait for Grammarly or wait for ChatGPT, all of these writing tools. So if you're there as a teacher, a student, a writer, an editor who does not have access to the paid version or the updated versions of all of these tools, this class is for you. The topic is would rather concord. Now, would rather is a form, is a type of concord, and concord is another subjunctive. This is treated under the concept of subjunctive. Now, one thing about subjunctive, as I've said previously, or as you know now, is that subjunctives or subjunctive expressions do not take the verbs in the present tense. They only take the expressions in the past tense or past participle. So, when you have would rather in sentence or in a passage or in expressions or in spoken communication, what rule should you bear in mind? How should you use would rather correctly? So let's have examples on the board. We'll use the examples to explain the rule guiding the use of would rather. So let's get to it. Look at this example. Let's look at this example. I would rather you dash to the office now. I would rather you dash to the office now. Then you have these options. You have go, you have be, you have went, you have see, you have, let's say, gone, you have D, then you have, let's say will go. Will go. I would rather you dash to the office right now. Do you think the answer should be, I would rather you go to the office now. I would rather you went to the office now. I would rather you go to the office now. I would rather you will go to the office now. Now, when you have this structure, okay, at the same time, let's look at this example. We'll treat this together so the class doesn't get too long. I would rather dash now. I would rather dash now. And we have the same option. Let's start, we have the same options for these two questions. The first expression is, I would rather you dash the office now. And number two, I would rather dash now. I would rather dash now. This would be perfect examples to look at this expression of would rather. These would be perfect examples to look at this concept of would rather concord. Now, notice in this first expression that we have a subject here, which is I would. There's the subject. Then we have would rather. This is would rather. Notice that after would rather, we have another subject. And that is where you need to pay attention to. After would rather, we have you. Now, let's come to the second expression. We have I would rather after would rather, we do not have a subject. We do not have a subject after would rather in the second example. After that, we simply have the verb and then we have the adverbial now. Okay, so what does the rule state? Every time you speak or you write and you have would rather, this is talking about preference, right? It's talking about preference. Now, the moment you begin to have a subject come after would rather, this expression changes from a normal expression, it changes from a real expression to a statement of regret. It changes to a statement of impossibility. It's a statement of preference for what is full of regret, right? I would rather you dash to the office now. This is an individual that is on the plane, maybe to Spain. The individual here that I would rather, this individual that I would rather to the office, this individual is on the plane, let's say to Spain. Now, it means therefore that it will be impossible that this individual go to the office now. It will be impossible that this person go to the office. Because I'm only imagining, I'm only living in the regret of the fact that this person can no longer leave the plane to go to the office. He's on the plane, she's on the plane, they are on the plane. So every time you have would, I would rather, or she would rather, you have would rather, and you have a subject come after would rather. Every time, it means that the expression is not real. It's impossible. It's a statement of preference anyways, but preference dealing with regret. So every time you have a subject come after would rather, the verb will always be in the past. Past. Your verb will always be in the past. And let's come to this part, the second part. I would rather dash now. I would rather dash now. Or maybe I will. Still doesn't matter. I would rather dash now. We do not have a subject after this. This is blank. There is nothing in there. There's nothing after would rather. No subject. So when you have an expression like this, it's a normal expression. It's normal. So when you have this type, your verb is always or will always be in the present. Your verb will always be present. So the logic is simple. When you have a would rather or she would rather, would rather, when a subject comes after would rather, either in speech or in writing, your verb should be in the past. And when you don't have a subject come after would rather, your verb will always be in the present. So let's look at these options. So I would rather you go. Is that correct? I would rather you go to the office now. It's wrong. Why? We have a subject come after would rather. Right? And remember, when you have a subject come after would rather, your verb should always be in the past. Because the presence of this makes this sentence subjunctive already. So this is wrong because it's present. B, I would rather you went to the office now. I would rather you went to the office now is correct because the rule states when you have a subject, whether it's you, whether it's I would rather I went to the office now. I can't go to the office right now because I'm in the class. The video is live. I'm live in this class, so I cannot go to the class. Now it's actually past time. I can go to the office right now, so it's in the past. All right, so went is the right answer. Now let's come to C. I would rather you gone. There is nothing like that. It's actually this is this is V3. This is V3, right? V3 for us, V3 you must have have or had. So this is actually very wrong. V2 is all that you need in this place. V2. And V2 is the past tense form of the verb. This is V3, and that makes it wrong. So I would rather you will go to the office now is wrong. I would rather you go to the office now because this is futuristic. This is futuristic and it shows possibility. So this shows impossibility because it's full of regret, right? And this shows possibility in the future. Remember, when you have would rather and you have a subject, you cannot have a verb in the present, you can have a verb in the past. So you can say, I would rather you stop watching it now is wrong. I would rather you stopped watching this class. I would rather you stopped watching, but I would rather you stop watching anyways. So you can have present tense verb, you can have a verb in the present, you can have a verb in the future, and you also can have a verb in the participle form. You can have a verb in the V3 in this case. Okay, so that's basically the rule guiding the use of would rather. I would rather she left now. I would rather she. I would rather he. I would rather they. I would rather we started right now. But But we can't even start right now because the time is past. It's actually my preference that we start. It's my preference that we start, but the preference is not working because the time is only lapsed, it's only eclipsed, and we've got something else starting. So that is that about that. And like I said, for number two, every time that you have would rather and after would rather, there is no subject. Rather, what follows immediately is the verb. The verb is in the present. So I would rather stop this class now. I would rather go now. I'd rather visit you tomorrow. I'd rather come in the afternoon. But I would rather I visited you in the afternoon. I would rather. But of course, I can't. I prefer to do it, but I've got another engagement that won't make me visit you in the afternoon. So I would rather I saw you later in the day. I would rather I saw you later today, not I would rather I see you today. But you can have I would rather see you. I will rather see you today. So that's basically what this class is about. And I know that right now you know how to use would rather as a form of concord, where you have would rather being followed by a subject, the verb is in the past, and we would rather without the subject after, the verb goes back to normal. The expression goes back to normal. So before we go, have this activity done. Let me have your answer in the comment. Leave your answer in the comment. This is just also to whether learning is taking place. Okay, let's say the boy would rather you dash is girl alone. Okay, this is the first. The boy would rather you dash his girl alone. You have these options. You have leave. B, you have left. C, you have will leave. And then you have D, let's say, had left. Okay, so that is that about the first. Let's now to the second. Okay, they would rather dash than go later. Okay. The rather, let's say, sleep. Okay, do I have? Let's put now here. They would rather dash now than go later. Let's say we have go. B, we have went. We have C, we have let's say gone, and then we have let's have okay, had gone. So let's have the answers to these two questions in the comment. The boy would rather you dash his girl alone. Is it leave? Is it left? Is it will leave? Or is it had left? And number two, they would rather, there's nothing yet. They would rather dash now than go later. Is it they would rather go now than go later? Or they would rather went now than go later? Or they would rather go now than go later? Or they would rather had gone now than go later? With that, we've come to the end of this class. If you've got any question regarding this concept, let me know in the comment. I'll be delighted to attend to them. And if you found this content really exciting, kindly do well to give a like, subscribe to this channel if you haven't, and share this content with your loved ones. See you in the comment.